I always just assumed that larger bookshelf speakers always sounded better than their smaller siblings. And like every time that I make an assumption, I'm usually proven wrong. This time, again, no exception. The Bronze 50 is the smallest speaker within the Modern Audio Bronze speaker range. It's their near entry-level speaker range. It's a compact two-way bookshelf speaker that aims to overachieve with size-defying sound. It features a 5.5-inch C-cam mid-bass driver and a 1-inch C-cam gold dome tweeter, uniform dispersion waveguide, a HIFI port around the back, an acoustically transparent grille. Frequency response is 62 Hz to 25 kHz. The in-room frequency response, they say 40 to 30? 40 seems like really low. Sensitivity is 85 dB. Impedance is 8 ohms with a minimum of 4.4. Recommended amplifier power is 20 to 80 watts. And it measures 11 inches high, 11 inches deep, and 7 inches wide, approximately. It's available in white, walnut with a gray baffle, and black with a gray baffle. And as usual, modern audio speakers come with magnetic grills, and as usual, I tend to leave the grills in the box because I like the way modern audio speakers look. They're clean and modern, and from a distance look rather upmarket. It's a speaker that looks just like it does in their lifestyle marketing shots. As usual, when I get a pair of bookshelf speakers in for review, I place them on either side of my desk just to get that break-in process going. And in this instance, these came with the Rotel A8 integrated amplifier. And that amplifier being short, I got to actually slide in under the makeshift shelf that I have on my desk. Super ghetto, but it fits, so that's kind of how I broke in those speakers with that amplifier. And then once they were somewhat broken in but needed a bit more juice, I put them on the other side of my office in that bookshelf over there, paired with the CX-A81 Mark II from Cambridge Audio. And then, once they're all broken in, I moved them to my living room on either side of my media unit, first paired with the Rotel A8, then the CX-A81 Mark II paired with the CXN V2, and then with the Evo 150 from Cambridge Audio. I also employed my B&W 610 sub. I placed the speakers on stands on either side of my media unit about a foot away from the wall. The room is about 12 by 11 and it's open on the right side because that's where the kitchen is in this condo. It's not the best, but small size actually works for this size speaker. As you can gather from the intro of this video, these speakers sounded bigger than I expected them to just looking at the spec sheet. Coming off the 5010 from Q Acoustics, I knew these were going to sound bigger and I knew they were going to sound great in my room. I just didn't expect them to sound this good. And I previously did review the Bronze 100, but it's been like a few years since I did that review, so I'm not going to even try to compare the two just from memory. But they do share a lot of the same components or at least driver material. So it's safe to say they sound pretty similar. Just one maybe just scales up a little bit bigger. But that's about as far as I'll take that. I received the Totem Loon bookshelf speakers at the same time that I received, well, essentially the same time that I received this bookshelf speaker. And so I decided to run the same track selection through both of these speakers. And then it dawned upon me, it's like, I still got these Q Acoustics 5010s on hand. So like, let's just run that back too with the same music and let's kind of see how it all works together. And admittedly, the Totem Loons take an ungodly amount of time to break in. Like I thought they were, and initially my review was going to be like, ugh, they don't sound very good. And then they totally changed and opened up, and now I gotta totally redo that review. Like I recorded the thing and I have to delete it now because they sound really good. But anyway, the songs that I used are as follows. Alzai's reimagining of Memory Lane off the Elmatic LP EP mixtape thingy-majiggy. It's great. Pseudo Echo from Consequence. Astral Plane from Saint Files and Caliber. I can't believe I'm going to admit this. I Can't Wait from New Shoes. Yeah, it's a good tune. It's a good tune. Kenny Burke's Rising to the Top. 90% of Me Is You from Gwen McCrae. The Beast from the Sicario soundtrack. And, oh, of course, the Lover remix from Taylor Swift with, I forget his name. My daughter loves that song, so it gets played a lot in my house. Paired with the Rotel A8, 30 watts a channel, it worked rather well. The Rotel A8 doesn't have a sub out, so you have to rely on that little mid-bass driver to provide the oomph. And With like funk and soul tracks, it works really well. Even with Lover from Taylor Swift, like there's enough there to give you a full enough sound. But then when you switch to like drum and bass tracks, it's a nice fast and taut driver and it works well with the drums. But when like the bass does kick in, there's enough there to give you an idea that there is a sub in play, and you get enough bass energy in a way of like, especially the way these tracks are mixed. Like there's always that top layer that just kind of lets you know that there's bass there and gives a bit more texture. So you get to enjoy that, but there's no like chest thumping bass. And so then with these tracks, when you do switch out the amplifier to like the CXA81 Mark II, there's a sub out. So I can easily connect my B&W 610 sub, and all of a sudden all that low end presence is there. Everything sounds a bit more full. It's nicer. With the sub off, the extra 50 watts does its part in unearthing like a bit more detail and control. The extra power also led to a little more body in the middle, and then the drums seemingly just kicked harder too. Now, as I was comparing the Loons and the Q Acoustics 5010, what I noticed almost immediately was how much more defined like the hi-hats and the treble was on the Bronze 50. Like take New Shoes' I Can't Wait. Like on both of the other two speakers, like it just sounded like a nice big full track, and like with a slightly rolled off treble. But with the Bronze 50s, like the hi-hats in particular were just like they were there and they were a bit more forward in the mix. And like, I just noticed them more. Like it was immediately apparent. If anything, I would say that the Bronze 50 is just so much more like of an energetic, exciting listen to a speaker. And depending on what you're listening to, like if you're sensitive to like highs, then maybe this isn't a speaker you want to like listen to. But then if you like being able to hear more of everything, then like Bronze 50 all the way. The Q Acoustics 5010 was a bit more even-handed. I noticed that the highs, while clear, did roll off a touch as well. Playing that Taylor Swift track back for my daughter, that top-end sparkle really lends itself to like that live-ish acoustic sound. And when I compare it against like the 5010s and the Loons, like the Loons are a bit of a cheat for a bookshelf speaker where like their off-axis like response, it's like 45 degrees. So you can kind of sit anywhere on your couch and it still sounds pretty much the same. It's a slightly bit more narrow with the Bronze 50, but it's still wide enough that you can like move over on your couch and it still sounds good. And then I found that with the speakers towed in a little bit on the 5010, that the sweet spot's a little bit more focused, but that's just me in my room. Where I found the Bronze 50s to really shine was with hip hop, particularly the older stuff. Playing Elzai's reimagining of Memory Lane, that top-end sparkle and control over the mid-range on the vocals was just what the doctor ordered to get my head bopping. Moving over to the Evo 150 from Cambridge Audio, the big advantage here was, you guessed it, tone controls, and I took full advantage of them. First, just turning off the subwoofer and then bumping up the tone controls by like 2. It just made the speaker sound more full to my ears. I enjoy having tone controls. Others may disagree and like a flatter sound, but if you like if you like fudging, chasson, so goût, to each his own. Tone controls for the win. Now, I didn't notice a big difference between the Evo 150's 150 watts a channel and the CXA81 Mark II's 80 watts a channel. I think it's both at the top end of like the speaker's power handling requirements, that like detail-wise and the full bodiness of the speaker sounded pretty much equal with both of these amps. It's really just once I bumped up the tone controls on the 150 that I was hear a bit of a difference in sound. So yeah, this is a small bookshelf speaker with a not so small bookshelf speaker sound. And if you like a speaker that's a bit more exciting and has a bit more of a pronounced top end, add this one to the list. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it.